Man, that was cool. No better way to start a video than an F-35 highlight reel. Gets you every time. And that is what we're going to be reading about today. Today we're going to be reading about the Lockheed Martin F-35 Lightning II F-35. And we'll go over the different variants and who we sell them to, a couple of their armaments, a couple of different things we're going to be reading about from their page. But I mean, it would take me a couple hours to read the whole pages. So we'll just pick and choose some highlighted areas and go from there. All right, let's begin. So the Lockheed Martin F-35 Lightning II is an American family, single-seat, single-engine supersonic stealth strike fighters, a multi-role combat aircraft designed for both air superiority and strike missions. It also has electronic warfare, intelligence, surveillance, and recon capabilities. Lockheed Martin is the prime F-35 contractor. The principal partners, of course, Northrop and BAE Systems. The aircraft has three main variants. The conventional takeoff CTOL is the F-35A. The short takeoff and vertical landing STOL, not as cool sounding, and which is the F-35B. The carrier variant, which is catapult assistant takeoff but arrested recovery, CATOBAR, or the F-35C. And we'll go through each of these variants. So the aircraft descends from the Lockheed Martin X-35, which is what they all begin as, an X or a Y, in 2001, beating Boeing X-32 to win a Joint Strike Fighter JSF program intended to replace the F-16 Fighting Falcon, the F-18, and the AV-8B Harrier II jump jet, which, I mean, it did. Among others, its developments is primarily funded by the United States and additional funding from the program countries from NATO and U.S. allies, close U.S. allies, including Australia, Canada, Denmark, Italy, Netherlands, Norway, UK, and formerly Turkey. What does that mean? I don't know why it says formerly Turkey. It's still Turkey. Maybe because they're not a close ally? I don't know. Okay, outside of NATO, Switzerland and Singapore have placed orders of the aircraft, and other countries considering purchases. We'll also cover who has these aircrafts, what countries are considering purchases, and what countries were denied purchases. The program has drawn criticisms for its unprecedented size, complexity, ballooning cost, and delay in deliveries. Yeah, it is a very expensive program that they began, saying it was going to cost at a lower cost than the F-22, but it just kept on expanding and getting bigger and bigger, of course. The decision started to manufacture the aircraft while still in development and testing led to expensive design changes and retrofits. As of July 2024, the average cost, excluding the engine, so not even like what propels the jet, are $82.5 million USD. For the F-35A, for the F-35B, it's $109. For the F-35C, it's $102.1, and this is all USD. And the engine itself is the F-135, and that costs $20.4 million USD. The F-35 first flew in 2006. Its variants entered service in July of 2015, so they're placing orders 10 years in advance for the Marine Corps of the F-35B, 2016 for the F-35A for the Air Force, and the Navy ordered the F-35C in 2019. The aircraft first saw combat in 2018 during Israeli Air Force attacks on Syria. The F-35 has since been used in combats by the U.S. in Afghan, Iran, Iraq, Yemen, and Venezuela, recently by Israel in Gaza, Iran, Iraq, Lebanon, and Yemen, and by the UK in Iraq and Syria. F-35As contribute to the U.S. nuclear forward deployment in European NATO countries. The U.S. plans to buy 2,456 F-35s through 2044. That is a long time. which will represent the bulk of its crewed fixed-wing aircraft tactical aviation for several decades. The aircraft is to be the cornerstone of NATO for U.S. allied powers and operate until 2070. I mean, not near as operating as the B-52, who's going to be a grandpa. So let's go into the program origins real quick and learn a little bit about that. The F-35 was a product of the Joint Strike Fighter program, which was a merger of various combat aircraft programs in the 80s and 90s. The program was Defense Advanced Research Project Agency, DARPA, Advanced Takeoff and Vertical Landing, ASTOL. That means it can have short takeoffs and it can land vertically, which ran from 83 to 94, aimed to develop a Harrier jump jet replacement, the U.S. Marine Corps and UK Royal Navy. Under the classified programs and supersonic fighter, Lockheed's Skunk Works, huge, they just get a bunch of nerd engineers and put them in a room and say, come up with something. Conducted research on stealthy supersonic fighters intended for both the U.S. Air Force and United States Marine Corps. Among key technologies explored was the shaft-driven lift fan system. Lockheed's concept was a single-engine Canard Delta aircraft weighing about 24,000 pounds empty. Okay, and then as rechristened as the Common Affordability Light Fighter in 93, involved Lockheed, McDonnell Douglas, and Boeing, of course. At the end of the Cold War, the collapse of the Soviet Union in 91 caused considerable reductions in the DoD spending and subsequent restructuring. In 93, the Joint Advanced Strike Technology Program emerged following the cancellation of the U.S. Air Force multi-role fighter and U.S. Navy Advanced Attack Fighter programs. The multi-role fighter, a program relatively affordable F-16 Fighting Falcon replacement, was scaled back and delayed due to post-Cold War defense posture easing. The F-16 fleet usage, thus extending its service life as well as increasing the budget pressure from Lockheed Martin F-22 Advanced Tactical Fighter. We had covered the F-22 in a previous video. Go check that one out. The AFX, initially the Advanced Attack, began in 1991 as the U.S. Navy's follow to the Advanced Tactical Aircraft Program for Grumman A-6 intruder replacement. The ATA's resulting McDonnell Douglas A-12 Avenger II had been canceled due to technical problems and cost overruns in 91. The same year, the termination of the Naval Advanced Tactical Fighter and Naval Development of United States Air Force ATF program was replaced. The F-14 Tomcat resulted in additional fighters capabilities being added to the Advanced Attack, which then was renamed into the AFX. Amid increased budget pressures, the DoD's bottom-up review in September of 93 announced the MRF's AFX cancellations, which is an applicable experience brought to emerging JAST program. JAST was not meant to develop new aircraft, but rather develop requirements, mature technologies, demonstrate concepts, and for advanced strike warfare. Okay, so basically they didn't want to spend money, and they ended up spending a lot more money. Okay, let's scroll down a little bit more, because that's just going into more why they did it in the JSF program. I was trying to find something cool here. All right. So the design, what makes the F-35 so great also is its stealth capability. We talked about that, the F-22 stealth capability, but the F-35 Lightning stealth outweighs the F-22 by so much. Due to its shape, it has a completely different shape than the F-22, and it's a single thrust. So due to that, the shape and the stealth technology used on it, it's basically undetectable. Some people say if you take F-16s and F-35, if you put it head on head in a dogfight, the F-16 is going to win every time. Just because the F-16 is so much more maneuverable than the F-35 and can, I would say, dance a lot better through the air in close combat. But if you take 2 F-35s and let's say 8 F-16s at 100 miles apart, F-35s are going to take out those F-16s before the F-16s even see them on the radar. The F-35 will probably get off 2 shots before the F-16s even see it coming. So the F-35 will immediately win in that style of dogfight. It was not designed for close quarters at all. It was designed to be able to see what's ahead and shoot very far ahead. Okay, let's go. A lot of development. Let's go to the overview of this design. And this is where I'm sure we'll get into stealth technology. I haven't read this yet, so we're discovering this all together. The F-35 is a family of a single-engine supersonic stealth multi-role strike fighters. It's the second 5th-gen fighter to enter the U.S. service as a first operation supersonic STOVL stealth fighter. And the F-35 emphasizes low observables, advanced avionics, and sensor fusions that enable the high level of situational awareness for long-range lethality. The U.S. Air Force considers the aircraft its primary strike fighting for conducting suppression of enemy air defense and air interdiction missions, owing the advanced sensors and mission systems. The F-35 and wingtail configurations, 2 vertical stabilizers canted for stealth. Flight controls surfaces include leading edge flaps, flaperons, rudders, and all moving horizontal tail stabilizers, leading edge root extensions or chines. Also run forwards to the inlets and a relatively short F-35 wingspan of the F-35 or 35-foot wingspan of the F-35 Alpha and the F-35 Bravo is set by the requirements to fit inside of the U.S. Navy amphibious assault ship park areas and elevators. The F-35 Charlie's larger wing is more fuel efficient. The fixed divertless supersonic inlets used to bump the compression surface and forward swept cowl of the shed the boundary layers of the forebody away from the inlets, which the wide duct for the engine structurally. The F-35 drew upon lessons from the F-22. Composites comprise of 35% airframe weight, and the majority of the bismutamide and composite epoxy materials, as well as carbon nanotube reinforced epoxy in later productions. The F-35 is considerably heavier than the lightweight fighters it replaces. The F-35 variants have an empty weight of 29,000 pounds. Much of the weight can be attributed to the internal weapons bay and the extensive avionics carried. Each F-35 carries about 50 pounds of samarium magnets. I don't know why. What is samarium magnets? I don't know. But cool. While lacking the kinematic performance of a larger twin-engine F-22, the F-35 is competitive with 4th-gen fighters such as the F-16, F-18, especially when they carry weapons, because the F-35's internal weapon bay eliminates drag from external stores. All variants have a top speed of a Mach 1.6 or 1,220 miles per hour, attainable with a full internal payload. Pratt & Whitney's F-135 engine gives good supersonic acceleration and energy with supersonic dash and afterburners. We saw that on the intro video, how fast they can accelerate, especially during takeoff and when there's no restrictions. It's incredible, especially when the afterburners are going. The F-35, while not a super cruising aircraft, can fly at Mach 1.2 for a dash of 150 miles per hour with afterburners. This ability can be useful in a battlefield situation. The larger stabilizers, leading edge extension, and flaps and canted rudders provide excellent high alpha angle of attack characteristics. The trimmed of alpha 50 degrees, relaxed stability, and triplex redundant fly-by-wire controls provide excellent handling qualities and departure resistance. Having over doubled the F-16's internal fuel, the F-35 has considerably greater combat radius, while stealth also enables more efficient missions flight profile. That was a lot. So basically, all the fancy gibberish I just read means it's fast and you don't see it coming. But it's heavy as crap, apparently. But what it makes up the weight due to its stealth characteristics and its ability to fly fast. And all the other trims and whatever else I just read. So let's keep on going here. All right. Stealth signatures. This is what I want to get into. The stealth and signatures. Stealth is a key aspect of the F-35's design, the radar cross-section. So when you look at a radar, how big does the F-35 come up on the radar is what the radar cross-section is. It's minimized through careful shaping of the airframe and uses radar absorbent material, also known as RAM, visible measures to reduce the radar cross-section, included alignment of the edge and continuous curvature of the surfaces, serrations of skin panels, and masking of the engine face and turbine. Additionally, the F-35's divertless supersonic inlet uses compression bump and a forward swept cowl rather than a splitter gap or bleed systems to divert the boundary layer away from the inlet duct. Eliminate the diverter cavity and further reducing radar signature. The RCS of the F-35 has been characterized as a lower than metal golf ball. So basically, when you put a F-35 and a metal golf ball out on the same field right beside each other and have the same distance of radar between the F-35 golf ball and the radar all at the same distances, it's going to read the F-35 and the golf ball at the same size. You gotta think, a golf ball is like this. F-35 can't fit in my garage. So that's a little breakdown of what the F-35 is. All right, the F-35 compares favorably to the F-22 in stealth, even though F-22s are extremely stealthy. This is even more stealthy. The maintainability for the F-35 stealth design took lessons from earlier stealth aircraft such as the F-22. The F-35's radar absorbent fiber mat skin is more durable and requires less maintenance than older top coats. The aircraft reduces infrared and visual signatures as well as strict controls, radio frequency emitters to prevent the detection. The F-35's stealth design is primarily focused on high frequency X-band wavelengths. X-band is the type of wavelengths like FM, AM, KU band, all different wavelengths. Low frequency radars can spot a stealthy aircraft due to Rayleigh scattering, but such radars are conspicuous, susceptible to clutter and lack of precision. To disguise its RCS, the aircraft can mount 4 Lundberg lens reflectors. Overseas deployments of the F-35 include Estonia, Bulgaria, and South Korea, and use these radar reflectors to prevent Russia-China intelligence gatherings on true RCS signatures. There were concerns of Russian involvement in the Syrian war to allow the country to gather true RCS data on Israel's F-35Is, which is their variant. We'll discuss that later. Flying without reflectors over Lebanon as well as the US F-22s. So a lot of people also talk about the noises, and that's what we're about to talk. The noise of the F-35, even though it's a stealth fighter, people are, oh, this is so loud. The F-35 is so loud. It's loud and you see it. When it doesn't want that to happen, you're already DEAD. Because it's going to hit you before you hear it. It's only loud when you're close to it or when you see it taken off. But when it's miles in the air, hundreds of miles away, and still hitting dead on target, you're done for. You're not going to hear it. It doesn't matter. All right. The engine, how it has the, not VTOL, but STOVL. There's no cool way of saying that. It means it has the fan on the inside of it, and you'll see the top of them open up. It was in the first clip. To be able to land vertically, and the thruster, the engine, rotates down to be able to take off or land vertically. It is very cool to see. Alrighty, testing, blah, blah, blah. Training, yeah, we know it kicked everyone's behind in training. And almost all branches use it besides the Army, because the Army only flies like helicopters. I actually don't know what all the Army flies. I know they fly helicopters, but belongs to the U.S. Marine Corps, the Air Force, and the Navy all have their own variant. And of course, who else wanted to buy it? The United Kingdom, because they know we build the best stuff. All right, let's go down to who has their own variants, and let's get into the different variants. Okay, so the F-35 Alpha is a conventional takeoff and landing, so it takes off and lands regularly. Its variant is intended for the U.S. Air Force and other air forces. It is the smallest, lightest version capable of 9 Gs, the highest of all variants. Although the 35 Alpha currently conducts aerial refueling via the boom and replicable method, the aircraft can be modified for a probe and drogue refueling if needed by the customer. So what is the difference between the boom and the probe? I thought those were the same thing. Well, I don't know. Okay, a drag chute pod can be installed on the F-35A, with the Royal Norwegian Air Force being the first to operate to adopt it. The F-35 Alpha has a tailhook design to stop aircraft during emergency situations. Unlike the more robust unit, the F-35 carrier base, the F-35 Charlie, the F-35's Alpha tailhook is for a single use, so you can only use it once. But going back to the drag chute, that's, what you see when you watch drag races or big old bombers or anything like that take off or land, they have drag chutes to slow the aircraft down because they're so large. And I'm sure the Norwegians needed it just because they probably have a smaller airfields than what's needed. So then the F-35 Bravo is the short takeoff and vertical landing variant of the aircraft. Similar in size to the Alpha variant, the Bravo variant sacrifices about a third of the Alpha variant's fuel volume to accommodate for the shaft-driven SDLV fan, the shaft-driven lift fan. The variant is limited to 7 Gs. Unlike other variants, the 35 Bravo has no landing hook. The control instead engages conversions between normal and vertical flight. The F-35 Bravo is capable of Mach 1.6. It can perform vertical and or short takeoff and landings. So it is short takeoff and landings. Yeah, so it has a giant fan in the middle of it that opens up, and that's why it's limited to 7 Gs, because it has that extra compartment that has to open up to be able to get the fan to push down air, literally to beat the air into submission, as one may say. So then we have the F-35 Charlie is the carrier base variant of the aircraft designed for catapult assistant takeoff and barrier arrested recovery. Is the CATO bar operations for aircraft carriers. Compared to the F-35 Alpha, the F-35 Charlie incorporates several modifications to meet the specific demands of carrier operations. These include larger wings with foldable wingtips to reduce the aircraft's footprint for storage, and large control surfaces to improve handling at low speeds, a more robust tailhook for repeated use with the carrier's cables, a twin wheel nose gear, and reinforced landing to withstand the stresses of arrested landings. The increased wing area also allows for lower landing speeds to improve both ranges and payload The F-35 Charlie is limited to a maximum load factor of 7.5 Gs. Of course, because they have all the extra stuff that is needed for carrier landings, whether it's landing on a rough sea in a carrier to stress out the F-35 or anything like that, and of course to be able to fold it up. And then, of course, the F-35 India Adair, which is, of course, Hebrew, meaning awesome or mighty one. The F-35 Alpha is a unique Israel modification. The U.S. initially refused to allow such changes before permitting Israel to integrate its own electronic warfare system, including sensors and countermeasures. The main computer has plug-and-play functions for add-on systems. Proposed include external jamming pods with new Israeli air-to-air missiles and guided bombs in the internal weapons bay. The senior Israeli Air Force official said the F-35 stealth may partly overcome within 10 years despite a 30 to 40 year life in service. Thus, Israel's insistence on using their own electronic warfare system. In 2010, Israeli Aerospace Industries considered a two-seater F-35 concept, and Israel Aerospace Industries executive noted that there was a known demand for two-seaters not only from Israel but other air forces. In 2008, the AIA planned to produce a conformal fuel tanks as well as stealthy external fuel tanks. These were reported to be used on the June 2025 airstrikes against Iran. Israel had ordered a total of 75 F-35s Indias by 2023, with 36 delivered as of November 2022. So, no matter how you feel, Israel was able to go over Iran without them noticing due to the F-35 and its stealth capability. Even though Iran preaches about their anti-air capabilities, it doesn't matter. Anti-air does not matter to the F-35. It's literally just a suggestion that they turn off. Same with the F-22. If you put your feelings aside about how you feel about everything in the world, the F-22 was able to go into Venezuela and fly over there and just hang out. Even though Venezuela had all these air defense systems from China and Russia that claimed to be so amazing, the F-22 and F-35 were able just to hang out over there. We put Chinooks, we put Black Hawks and Apaches all over there without losing a single one, even though they had all these great anti-air systems. It really is a suggestion, especially to the F-35 and F-22. They just turn the suggestion off. So who all operates the F-35? So Australia, of course, they're one of our close allies. Belgium, Denmark, Israel, Italy, Japan, Netherlands, Norway, Poland, South Korea, UK, and of course the United States. Why do all these countries want the F-35? Because they see how good it is. They see that it can't be detected. And who are some future operators? So who already ordered them? Of course, our friends from the North, Canada, the Czech Republic, Finland, Germany, Greece, Romania, Singapore, and Switzerland. They are all awaiting their F-35 deliveries, which we covered in the beginning. It takes so long and it costs so much money to actually get them. Some of our potential sales of the F-35 is India, Chile, Morocco. Morocco's cool, and of course the Saudis now, who would like to procure 48 of them. But we'll see how that one goes down. We know they have plenty of money to fuel the military-industrial complex. And cancellations, of course. The Republic of China, Taiwan repeatedly expressed interest in F-35s. How about no? Too much Chinese spies over there. Egypt. I don't know why we canceled Egypt's. Strongly objections from DOD and Israel led to the cancellation. Spain. I don't know why we canceled Spain's, because they wanted request of information and preliminary analysis, but was ruled out, so we canceled their order. The Thai Air Force was denied. Why was the Thai Air Force denied? The United States Department of Defense implied it would turn down the Thai's bid to buy 35, instead offering the F-16s and F-15 fighters. Okay, Turkey. I mean, that kind of makes sense. And the UAE denied of 50 F-35s, which I'm kind of surprised, but we're offering them to Saudi Arabia. That's interesting, especially the UAE has so much money, like the Saudis do. Okay, and then accidents. We've seen a lot of accidents. Not as much accidents as the United States Marine Corps Osprey that flies, but we have seen a lot of accidents with the F-35. And then what all does it carry? This is cool. So a guns, of course, has 125 millimeter Gatling gun, or General Dynamics GAU, which is a rotary cannon, so it rotates to be able to fire faster. It has hard points, 4 internal stations, 6 external on the wings, of course, and missiles. It has air-to-air for sidewinders, AIM 120s, AIM 132s, AIM 260s, and a MBDA Meteor. I don't know what that is. Air to surface, of course, the AGM-88G, the AGM-158, the Spear 3, the stand and attack weapons, the anti-ship missiles also, AGM-158 Charlie, Joint Strike Missiles, Hypersonic Attack Cruise Missiles. Apparently that's just for Australia. That's interesting. Bombs, joint direct attack munitions, pave ways, precision guided munition bombs, being the AGM 154, the GBU 39, and the GBU 53. And what is this? Oh, B61 Mod 12, which is a thermonuclear gravity bomb. Cool. So that is all the armament that it holds. That last one definitely made it more interesting. So what do we think about the F-35 besides it being able to literally not be seen and carry basically whatever you want? A little bit more about how the capabilities of this F-35, they're able to basically communicate with other aircrafts. So you could have an F-35 200 miles advance of the flock, forward line of troops or whatever, fought. And then you can have your F-16, F-18, whatever, way back here where it's going to have a higher radar cross-section. But the F-35 can pick out those targets. And the F-22, F-18, F-16, whatever you want to call it back here, can literally launch a telephone pole due to the communications between the F-35 and whatever fighter is behind it carrying a higher armament, because the F-35 is probably carrying a lower armament to stay stealthy. But they can still put warheads on foreheads from other aircraft and still not be seen. And that is why the sound of it does not matter. Being able to see it does not matter, because they're going to get you before you even hear it. And that's the F-35, ladies and gentlemen, on Wiki Reader. Join us here next time. Like, subscribe, comment. What aircraft do you want to see me cover next? I'm thinking about the B-2 bomber, and then we'll go into that stealth capabilities and what it is capable of. But that's all I have for the F-35. We'll see you next time. Like, subscribe, comment.